Welcome to Agency Acquisitions and Exits. I'm your host, Peter Lang. Today, I'm joined by Matt Graham, founder of Rapid Developers. He's got 10 acquisitions in 3 years. Not only did he start the right way by doing high probability, low consequence, small purchases from plug-in portfolios, now he's expanded to full service businesses. He understands the risk and also understands what happens when he invests his time and energy into programmatic M&A. We unpack how he used those small acquisitions to build confidence, to buy bigger and buy faster. Matt, let's dive in. Thank you for joining me. I'm excited. I've been tracking you for a while, and what got my attention is you went online and posted seventh acquisition. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 7 acquisitions, added $3 million in revenue, and you're just coming to market, tearing it up, doing the things that I love and promote. So we're going to unpack that today if you're okay with it.
Dude, I'm pumped, man. I'm excited, Peter. It's actually our 10th acquisition. I'll go into all the details with you here, but yeah, it's been quite the journey.
Okay, so I am the programmatic M&A evangelist. I say go out and buy multiple things a year, and you go out and do it. First, set the stage. Give us who you are and what the agency is that you're doing these acquisitions into. And then let's start with the first one. And we may not get to each one specifically, but I want to build on what you've been building through that pattern.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm Matt. I run Rapid Dev. We're a development agency. We started as a development agency 5 years ago. We got our start in the no-code visual development ecosystem. So Bubble, think Bubble, Flutterflow. Those are the big ecosystems in that space. And it was like a total duh, right? Like being able to build applications for a tenth of the cost, 10 times as fast, incredible value for clients. When you can deliver incredible value, you can always take a piece of that. And so we got on that train early. We were able to grow really quickly, but now the market is changing very quickly with all the vibe coding that's happening and AI. So there's a whole new range of services. So our ultimate goal is to become a diversified services business.
Fantastic. You didn't have the incumbent problem, which is you were delivering a service a certain way and then had this massive shift in delivery. You started with no code, and that has allowed, in my mind, you to move much faster, I presume, because you're adapting to the modern tech available to you rather than having entrenched deliverables from previous clients.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, usually clients are coming to us, they want something like brand new from scratch. They're either starting a new venture or they need an internal tool or something like that. So it's much easier just to get something started from scratch versus they have some old antiquated architecture that's too expensive to maintain, tons of technical debt. And so they're starting over from scratch. So that makes it very easy. But the main thing that got us our start is being in an ecosystem. So this is a pretty common play for a lot of services businesses. If you can embed yourself in an ecosystem and develop a playbook, how to build a monopoly in that ecosystem. That's the goal. Monopolies are great, right? Monopolies are good as a business, right? And so how do you embed yourself in the community? How do you make content? How do you cozy up with the partner? How do you add value to the partner? How do you add value to the ecosystem? We got really good at that playbook and been able to execute it multiple times for different ecosystems. So that's really what got us started and also helps us propel into more diversified places beyond just Bubble or Flutterflow.
Fantastic. We had an episode, we were talking about Jellyfish as a company and the chief growth officer who expanded them globally, triple emphasized, and this is consistent in most agencies that get to a certain size, which is that really developed channel partner or technology partner, going deep with them is in itself effort, not just doing the work. You have to be mindful, you're creating content, you're evangelizing the brand and the technology, and it does typically flower. And here's a good use case for that. And now as you're maturing, because that was quick, you've been piecing things together. So walk us through that journey. So you're starting to do, web app, you're doing app development, you're doing online, you're doing all the things with this no code resource and infrastructure. What did building the business look like as you were starting off?
So a lot of service owners are just really good at their craft. They're super hey, I just love building, or if it's design, I love design, or if they're a marketing agency, they just love the marketing. They love doing the thing. I'm lucky in that I'm kind of lazy and I don't particularly love doing the thing. I just like building the business. So I kind of come at it from a different mindset from most service owners, I think. But the other thing is I'm always constantly thinking how to build the business, right? I'm not building something that's extractive to create my own wealth, right? My wealth is the business and I'm trying to build the business. I'm not trying to extract it and go diversify into a million other things. And so my mindset was always, okay, if we take a dollar, how do we make $2? Why would I take the dollar out and put it somewhere else? I might as well just put it back in and make another dollar. And so like I, from very early on, like was trying to diversify top of funnel. Like how do we actually build a brand? How do we actually get leads? How do we build sales? And then how do we build delivery? And so like continually investing back into it. And like the other thing, technology moves so fast. Like none of us could have predicted how fast AI came on board, these AI agents, the vibe coding phenomena. And so like you have to diversify. You have to put the money back in. It still produces $2 for every dollar you put in, but it helps you make a more durable business. Like a lot of service businesses in our space are not real businesses. You know, there's an engineer who like figured out that he either couldn't like be employed, like honestly, and like just fell into the agency life.
Unemployables,
Was that?
the unemployable.
Yeah, the unemployable, right? Or they just like figured out they could make more money, like servicing a client instead of being a part of a big machine. So yeah, but they didn't build real businesses, right? So that's what opens up the opportunities for M&A. So like as I networked, I love talking to agency owners, but then it started to click like, oh, I'm like, you know, there's a lot of people that don't actually want to stay in the game long term.
Yeah, the thesis in a roll up is to reach out to service providers and install a pro business mindset. And what you were describing about your focus, your interest in business outpaces your interest in the service technically. And before we clicked record, you were even talking about like you're so focused on the business, you don't even know who the clients are in many respects. You don't even know what's going on in the day to day from a mechanical delivery perspective, because that's not, although it's part of the business, it's not the business that you're focusing on day in and day out, which is fantastic. What do you think prepped you for that?
I think I just love building. I've always like been like, even since I was a kid, it was like seventh grade. I was like trying to build this bubblegum empire or candy empire in my like elementary school, you know, like, oh, I can sell like, you know, candy. I can like, you know, do some cheaper prices in the cafeteria and make a buck here. So like, I've always been building. I've always been selling. I have like all these crazy stories from my childhood and going through college. When I was in college, I was like, I bought like 100 different little puppy stuffed animals because I thought they were going to be like super popular during Christmas time. So it's just like who I am. And I'm like always trying to sell and build. So I think that's just always been my mindset versus like, hey, just like get really good at the craft.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of set the table for the size of the team before you did the first acquisition, which we'll unpack what these are kind of mechanically here. But like, give us a scaffolding foundation view of the business.
Yeah. So like the company was pretty small. Even at a small stage, I was interested in doing some acquisitions. So it started off just like small bets. Okay. Like let's just risk maybe like 25, 50K on buying like a product portfolio. So that's where it started. I didn't start buying other agencies at first. I just bought things that would serve as acquisition channels, okay, or as ways to boost our visibility, attention, or brand.
You're
Right.
using AI to solve problems and give you things that you didn't have.
Exactly. And so, like, we entered an ecosystem, let's say Bubble. There's all these players that had plugins, they had templates, they had different types of things that give you a lot of clout or authority within the ecosystem. It's too hard to build that stuff. It takes too long. You got to take a bet, then you got to beat the other people that already exist. That takes way too long. I'll just buy the thing. Like, let's just buy these plugins. Sure, we could build the plugins for way cheaper, right? But like, they don't have the ratings, they don't have the traction, they don't have the downloads, they don't have all the conversation and organic things that happened over the last 3 years that those plugins existed. So a lot of those early ones were pieces of an ecosystem and started to build like a monopoly within a part of the ecosystem. So let's say like templates, like we started to acquire templates. One of them was like a massive home run. Like we bought like a portfolio from this guy for like 50K. And one of the templates brought in like multiple hundreds, thousands of dollars of deals for us. And the guy just didn't know how to sell. Like he just wanted to build these cool products, but he didn't know like that it was a gold mine for service work. So that's like kind of how we got started. Then we would build like, you know, we would dominate the templates. We own like 80% of the template market in Bubble, for example. Then we move on to plugins and other things.
Now, was this a written down strategy or opportunistic? Like,
Super
Give some context.
opportunistic. I'm a bit impulsive, like, the strategy is getting formulated as I'm going step by step. I didn't really sit and like, journal like, hey, I'm going to do this. It just sort of like I was always good at talking and networking with tons of people and then just spotting opportunities and like taking advantage of them when it happened. But then once you build momentum, you're like, okay, whoa, this is a good strategy. It's working. Let's double down. Let's buy all the templates.
Your pattern recognition starts to hone in, and you're able to execute a kind of what would be deemed an advanced strategy for market expansion, even at a small level. Like people say, what size do I need to be to start doing M&A? No, you can solve any business problem with an acquisition. You just don't know how yet. Or you're not like Matt, confident and ignorant at the same time, and just dives in and says, "Oh, let's do it. Let's
Yep.
make this work." And then you learned from it probably very quickly. And then you through discovery of interacting with the market, you are actually now implementing a very advanced strategy for a business that started at your size.
Yeah. So like, I mean, even back then with the first one, maybe we're like 12 people, right? Like 25K was still like a lot of money for me as a small agency. But like you said, you take some shots, you get some reps. It's not all perfect. Like I had one that was a complete scam. I bought this one little, it was like a temp, it was built around a template. It was like its own self-sufficient business. It looked like amazing on paper. And, I bought it for 25K and I'm like, wow, what a steal. He wanted 100K for that. And it was a complete scam, like literally a complete scam. Like all the transactions seemed to be fake. Like as soon as we took over, it just everything like went to zero. So it's not like you're going to make mistakes or that you're going to have like all this wild success, especially at the small stage. Like big thing I've learned as you get bigger is actually easier. It's counterintuitive, but like at the small things, you're not buying like really robust, durable things. Like there is a high chance of going to zero versus once you get bigger, you're buying like actually legit businesses that are self-sustaining and have less risk.
Yeah. But you took my, it's called my Lang acquisitions rule number 3, which is buy 30% your employee count as your first business acquisition. You took that actually margin of safety even lower. Basically, you wanted you know, atypical opportunity and upside. You just want to win at all costs. You're like, I'll just make a small enough bet to be proof of concept and get a disproportionate level of reward if it works. But it's not going to sink the ship. And yet it got you the confidence to continue to push a little bit outside of like this container that is your business to do something that just isn't the status quo that exists in your business, which Matt speaks so well on your vision, your strategy, and your leadership. You're solving business problems with things that don't exist in the business today, coming up with creative solutions. And it's evident even in those first experimental deals.
So I call this like, there's a whole book about this. I can't say the name of the book, but it's like you flip a coin, heads I win, tails I don't lose much, right? Like, okay, flip the coin, 25K. The business is still alive. We lost some money, but it was a 25K bet at the end of the day. It's not something that sometimes you can buy a business and it can actually like drain way more than you put in, right? Like you bought it for what X amount, but it actually needs like working capital. It has like this huge expensive head count. And then you have like a super dangerous situation you're in. So I've always tried to structure my deals too. And we'll get into that probably a little bit of like heads I win, tails I don't lose much.
Yeah, great. So you started picking up these no code products that
Yeah.
existed within the Bubble ecosystem, the templates. Count them out for us. How many did you get? Versions within that same ecosystem?
Well, I mean, we own like the vast majority of the template ecosystem. Like we pretty much have a large like product. That's what I mean. You got to get a monopoly, man. Like once you have a monopoly, it's like everything's so much easier.
It is true. Yes, you wanted complete domain exposure. So you're just that source for that marketplace. Okay, well that you got to that point.
Yep.
Then you started saying what? Revenue concentration risk or ecosystem? Well, like what caused you to now
Yeah.
take that next
Like
step?
then I realized, okay, like we can't really be what we want to be, a massive organization, unless we diversify into other ecosystems, like
Got it.
this
So Bubble was becoming a limiter.
yes. Like
Got
we
it.
want to grow faster than what that ecosystem can grow. Right. So like we grew quickly because we maybe took more of the pie from other people. But then like once we had most of the pie, then you're growing at the same rate as the ecosystem. And if you want to get more growth, you have to go outside that ecosystem. And so I think about our business not as like I think about my job is to make our company really proficient at adding capabilities. Okay. So I think a lot of agency owners and guests you probably have are like super dialed in and focused on like one type of service. I'm more actually interested in like having complementary services that are really have a lot of synergy with our client base. Okay. And so especially within technology, like there's so many tools and all those tools serve different functions, right? Like Lovable is great for this, Bubble's great for that, right? Bubble's awesome for web. Back in the day, they didn't have mobile, and Flutterflow was king of mobile for visual development. So that's when that was our next big leap was diversifying into mobile via Flutterflow. And so then I was like, oh wait, okay, new ecosystem, but I'm starting to see patterns again. Like, okay, so you get the templates, you start to write content, you start to work with the company directly and get to know them and understand what's valuable for them and deliver on that value, right? And then I was like, okay, wait a second, this is a repeatable playbook across multiple ecosystems.
Yeah, it's the channel expansion playbook.
But then once you figure out that this is an ecosystem that is worth playing in, then you like, I just skip a step. I don't like bother doing all this organically. I buy the premier agency in that space. So that was like one of our big deals, bought like the premium agency the founders wanted to get out. And so that helps us just, okay, all of a sudden skip 3 years of like hard grind to get to the place we had gone with Bubble, but now in Flutterflow very quickly.
Yeah, it's a fast forward button.
Yeah, exactly.
So your theme is accessible M&A. Start small, learn fast, and then scale it up. And you've done a wonderful job. Let's talk about that. So you had an opportunity to buy a service business within a channel that you wanted to have entrance into. So this is channel expansion or service expansion.
Mhm.
How did this opportunity show up on your doorstep?
Again, like my favorite thing is talking to agency owners. Like I just like will go on a jog and catch up with tons of agency owners all the time. I love learning about the different structures, different approaches they have. And so like I just, that's my network is other people in services. I think services is an awesome place to be over the next 10 to 15 years. I could get into that why that thesis. I have that thesis, but I love it. Well, I just love talking to agency owners, even if it doesn't turn into anything. But a lot of times it does turn into something because they know I do M&A. We talk about that. I talk about my experiences. They share theirs. And so they always have in the back of their mind that Matt's the guy to call when you're thinking about leaving your business.
Yeah. You're proactive at networking
Mhm.
with other founders and you share the journey and they share
Exactly.
back. And some people are at a different stage of the journey than you are. And they're like, well, I'm at the tail end of this, or I've been plateauing, and you're a rocket ship. So let's talk about that acquisition. What was the motivation behind these founders looking to do a deal with you?
Yeah, they retired. Like this is a very common like situation for most service business owners because they're in the business, they're talking to the clients in and out, they're doing all the firefighting every day. Then when deals dry up or they lose a client, then all of a sudden their team they have to make payroll and their team doesn't have enough work. So like, what are we gonna do? So it's just constant stress, man. Like if you're in like I couldn't do it. I'm not like saying that, they're weak or they're just like giving up. I couldn't even do it myself. I don't think anyone can really grind like that for so long. You have to build, like we've been saying, build the business so you're not in that little meat grinder. And so same story. They were just like ready for a new take on life, right? Like they've been doing it for 12 years, really talented guys, did great work, had incredible clients, had an incredible team, but like just tired, man. Like this is 12 years of my life. What's my vision? Where do I want to go? And a lot of people just hit a ceiling too. So like if you don't have growth, like you don't have to grow like a rocket ship, like what the headlines always say, but
You
humans
want progress.
want progress. Every human wants to have some progress and progression with themselves and whatever facet of life it is. And it's usually as an owner, it's going to be with your business, right?
Yeah. And you've identified some of those key attributes, which is burnt toast founders is what I call them. They were just left in the toaster a little bit too long. And if you're between 6 and 10 years, and they were 12, 6 and 10 years, and this Groundhog Day is continuing, and you're not really progressing, even in a lifestyle business, that can be very exhausting as an entrepreneur, someone who gets a lot of energy from new things and creation and development. And it's really hard to find a prospective buyer for your business at that size because it just doesn't have the same
Exactly.
economic opportunity for someone else who has to take over. So it has to be a good strategic fit, has to be service aligned or client aligned, and then the structure has to support the risk that you're taking by assuming the responsibility for a flat asset, a business that has basically lost the drive or lost the people who are driving it. So,
People
how
don't
did you think about
realize
that?
how much of that is out there, guys. Like, that's actually the vast majority of service businesses. Like, you
It
may
is.
you may think like this is out of reach for you because you're too small. We've already talked about that. You may think it's out of reach because you don't know how to source deals, or you have to like, have this huge operation to be sourcing deals for you. But like, guys, literally everyone wants out of their business eventually. Like, literally all you do is just call like 50 agency owners and like hang out with them, because I mean, like, I genuinely enjoy hanging out with them and getting to know them. And then you just wait 2 years and you're probably going to have at least two or three acquisition opportunities.
Or
It's
10.
simple. Or 10, right? Like, because those people are going to get tired, guys. Like, it's not rocket science. It takes a little time, but you can have a lot of fun doing it too, getting to know these people.
Yeah. It's also important to highlight you're open to having discussions with all types of founders, so all ages. A lot of early entrepreneurs kind of curate to other young entrepreneurs or people who look like them, depending on where they are in their career, which can be limiting.
Hmm.
Hopping on a call with someone who's 20 years your senior is a very different stage of their professional life than someone who's a younger entrepreneur. Now, there are even younger entrepreneurs who set out on their own and go, oh wow, this is what running the business was. I don't want to deal with people, or I got burned by my first few hires and it didn't work out and I got a bad taste for entrepreneurship now. And there's those types of founders who have small books of businesses, even get to a million or a few million in revenue and just go, wow, this got a lot bigger faster than I anticipated, and I am not the professional to run it. And someone like you shows up and go, I don't know, I'm the professional. I'm pro business energy, and you have a lot of clients that need to be taken care of and tons of potential. So you become an ideal fit buyer. And you're not shy about telling people you're buying, which is also
Yeah.
helping them see themselves in you.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know, like, well, like, they're like, I'm talking to a competitor. Like, my best friends are like our competitors. It's kind of like ridiculous how like I text my competitors as if like, more than my wife sometimes. It's like crazy. Like, people are too like, oh, I can't tell them this, I can't tell them that. Guys, like, literally, this stuff is so hard to execute on. The chances of, you talking to people and them executing on your strategy is like, like, sure, maybe. But like, don't just talk and be open and share notes. And that's how you get to know people. And then they reciprocate, you learn about their business, their strategy, and you guys can, kind of skip a lot of the hardcore negotiation stuff when the time comes a year or two later.
Yeah. The number one buyer of your business is your competitor.
Yeah.
They have the one that can assimilate you the easiest.
Yeah. They're the one that's going to have that most strategic value, right? Like, versus
Yeah.
others won't.
Others who are buying into you potentially add you. Of course, private equity, largely exit liquidity for the founders, or strategics with capital markets, upside potential in their earnouts and the go forward business. There's tons of options, but the smaller strategic competitor, I mean smaller relative to typical buyers,
Mhm.
is typically the best fit buyer, just because of the cultural atmosphere aligns with the two businesses more so than others. And so you've started to experience this. Like, these were easy. It's fair to call it was it an acqui-hire, or how are we defining this first founder acquisition?
Well, some of them, most of the time, I'm not looking for the founder to stay on board. I'm looking for our operating system to get copied over to their company and for them to kind of get absorbed in. And it doesn't require the founder. And the founder, like, you have to be careful with like how you transition clients, do all the things that could fall apart when the founder leaves. But generally, the founder was like what was causing the growth, like, because it was just referrals or something, right? And I'm just going to assume if the founder leaves, we're not getting referrals that much anymore. So it's not like we're paying a lot for these businesses. It's not like, the founder has to understand that they didn't really build a business that's sellable to very many people at all. There's not a huge market of people that can take their business over and actually keep value or even grow value, because the business is so dependent on them, right? We're like one of the few buyers that can take a business and not have the founder there and still create value. And the reason most of the time the founders don't want to stay is because they're tired, like I said, or they're not, they want to go on and do something else with life. And for me, like, I need people that are fired up. Like, I need fresh, fired up people. We did have a couple founders that stayed with us for like two of the acquisitions I can think of off the top of my head. And one of them now is the CEO of one of our other acquisitions that we did a year later. So we acquired him. He came in, he was super high performing sales, one of our top sales guys. And then he knew how to sell, he just didn't know how to deliver as well. And then he's a great leader and he's running one of our other companies that we acquired a year later. And then for another guy, he's one of our main executives at the company running a huge piece of the service department. And so my point is like most of the people already have a vision for what they want to do. They're too entrepreneurial. They want to go do their own thing. Totally fine. But there are some who just need like a vision or a path for themselves, for their career. Like, okay, I'm hitting the ceiling. I can't get past this. Okay, then Matt comes along and says like, well, dude, it's obvious. Like your superpower is this. It is not this. Let me take that off your plate. You'll never have to deal with that BS ever again. You just focus on your superpower. Be super, super good. Top 0.01% of that thing. That's all. I'll leave you alone. Go do that. And then that just is a total unlock for them. And they get so much more joy and purpose out of what they're doing when they get all that other crap off their plate.
My aha in my entrepreneurship journey through deploying M&A was when I acquired, and this is my narrative and pitch to the marketplace, an owner who was better at selling than I was. And so many founders fail at hiring their first salespeople because they just never hired a salesperson. And the sales system is built on founder-led sales.
Yep.
Well, founder-led sales works. You just go acquire a founder who wants to sell and put them in your company. And so you're sourcing so many different solutions above maybe the comp or discretionary profits available for paying people. You're acquiring those people because it would take time recruiting these people, onboarding them. The general perspective is hire professionals who've done it before to do it for me. And you're doing that by buying these businesses that have these component parts that just are not at a critical mass that is productive for that founder to really have joy and drive.
I'm glad you hit on this because this is also something top of mind for me is small businesses, professional service firms. They're really hard to attract top talent. Think about our country. Like the top talent gets sucked up by all these big companies that have literally free money. Like little capital markets give them so much money that they can overpay the labor pool for the top talent, right? Like it's a very bifurcated market. The top talent gets like paid very, very well. And so like we're all in like small business land, right? We're all bootstrapped. We can't attract that incredible talent. And if you've worked with those people, you know what it's like. You're like, whoa, these guys are next level, right? Like, how do you get those people in your business, right? And the acquisitions, M&A is a great way to get very talented people into your company because those people either have like some sort of tragic flaw that prevents them from being employed at another company, or they're just off that track. They're not from that pedigree. They're too far along in their career. They'll never go into that corporate track anymore. And so there's like a gold mine of like super talented people that you would love to work with. Like you love who they are. You love their personalities. You guys got chemistry and they're absolute killers, right? And so this is a great way also to get like incredible talent that you can't get any other like through normal recruiting motion. Like you can't hire a recruiter or a search firm to hire those people. You just got to get to know them. You got to strike a deal, and then eventually like they'll get sucked into your orbit.
If I'm listening to this and I'm interested in doing M&A and I have some, challenges or concerns, and I might say one of the primary ones, like, hey, Matt, I hear you. I listen to Peter's stuff. I know it works. I see you all talking about it, but how can I find the time to go through this process and do M&A when I'm already working 60 hours plus a week on this business and we're only at, 1.5 million of revenue?
You can still do it 1.5 million revenue. The problem is probably you're working too much on the wrong things. Like you have to have an overall strategy for your company. There's lots of roads to success. But if you can just add this EBITDA, like to your business, why wouldn't you do that, right? Like this is a very high value activity. So you got to just suck it up and take 10 or 20 hours out of your regular day or week or whatever you're working on and be okay that some of that stuff's going to fall through the cracks and not work out because this is just a higher point of leverage for your time. 20 hours here is much better than 20 hours over here. You're probably just not allocating think of your time as, or like money in the stock market or investing, like your ROI on your time. Where is your leverage? It's on this. It is not on this. And I think the other thing is probably you're not delegating aggressively enough. I mean, a lot of it's helpful to be lazy. I always ask myself, like, why am I doing this? There's got to be somebody else that I can do this. Once I figure it out and I understand it, like I'm pretty quick to try to get someone to help me. I think there's hesitation for most small $1.5 million firms not to bring other people on board that can really free up your time. I buy my time all back. Like I could take my money out of the business and like have it sit in a bank account or go do real estate or stocks or whatever, but I actually just buy my time back by putting it back into the business, giving it to someone else to do the job I was doing.
What's the fastest way for you to add 300K of EBITDA without hiring a single salesperson, Matt?
Hey, right? I mean, there's no other way, guys. There's
That's
no
the
other way.
answer I always give to that objection, which is like, what else are you doing in your week, your month, right now that could add 300,000 of EBITDA to your business in the next 60, 90 days? And there's usually no internal initiative that is going to have that type of geometric impact that quickly. It's
Especially in our
important.
industry, right? Like in services, they're not the types of markets. Like when you think about the market, like zoom out all the way to the clouds and just think about the structure of the market. There's a reason these markets have very fragmented players, right? So, like, doing more marketing or sales, like that will help you, but it's a very linear process. And that's not anything that you're doing wrong or not smart enough
It's
or
a natural constraint of supply and demand and resource allocation.
yeah, like we're not in the type of services are just naturally not the type of market that lend themselves to exponential growth. So the only way you're going to be able to get that is through M&A.
Now, you got into this, and without naming names, you didn't integrate. Was it this one, or which one didn't you integrate because it gave you a lead source by keeping it separate? Let's talk about that as a strategy, because there's a simulation, which you described, our founders who want to leave, you're going to simulate it, you're going to bolt on your system, your team and talent. But then you have these storefronts, these brands that have
Mhm.
website traffic, have been spending years marketing their domain and their brand and servicing clients. Tell us how you think about that.
So we've actually done it. There's 3 storefronts outside of just Rapid Dev. I can't talk about all of them, but there's 2 that are pretty well known. And then there's actually a 4th that I'm working on right now that I'm super jazzed about. But yes, like behind the scenes for some of them, like generally the storefront and the sales process is separate with like they're selling different things, they offer different values of value for their like what they're selling is just different, right? And so the storefront's different, the website's different, the sales motion's different, but like the delivery operating system for services, especially within our tech ecosystem, is pretty, anything is the same if you get like high enough level, right? Like, but I would say there's like, we have a good operating system for delivering services, regardless of what type of service it is. We're very proficient at spotting talent and vetting talent that can deliver the service. We're very proficient at customer communication. We're very good at setting timelines, budgets, scoping the work to be done. Like all those, like, your basic meat and potatoes or whatever the phrase is like, if you're good at that, you can expand to multiple service types. It doesn't necessarily matter what type of service you're doing. Now, of course, that's at a pretty high level. Details matter when you're delivering a service, like to have real experts. But if you're good at getting those experts on your team, then you'll be able to do it. So the storefronts like are very, very important because they're acquiring customers is like the hardest thing in service businesses, right? Like doing the work generally is like easier.
They're
So
funnels. Yeah, they're funnels that feed into the same back office fulfillment.
exactly.
And why we talk Google, but with AI it's different. But if you can have listing 1, 2, and 3 on Google and it's all owned by the same company, that's going to be beneficial for you.
You summed it up way better than what I said. Just cut my part out exactly, like own 1, 2, and 3 on the search result, and you're perfect. And even with a CPA firm, right? Like there's different types of value a CPA firm can do. It could be your premium tax advisory, could be your cookie cutter one, right? And so we have that whole range of portfolio, the premium, the more cost effective, all the way down.
A is also really good at exposing you and educating you as the person who's leading the initiative, being the deal sponsor. What are some of the things you've been learning that M&A has accelerated in your professional development that is different from what you were just learning from just entrepreneurship by yourself?
Okay, I don't know if this exactly answers your question, but I want to say it anyways. I feel like the best thing that happened was like we did an acquisition that was about 33% the size of our company, and that broke a ton of systems. And so it forced all of us to think about our company differently. Okay. There were things that were just kind of like boiling the frog slowly. And like none of us noticed this is eventually going to break. When you add 33% more people to your company, all that shit comes up super quick to the surface. And you're like, whoa, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. But like professionally, it just changes your mindset to think more about like scale and think like, hey, the way we're doing this now, okay, we could keep doing that. And maybe that's the answer. But just we got to be aware it's not going to work that well when we're 3 times the size. And we can either fix it now or later, but at least you're way more aware of that. And you start to, if you, once you get into the M&A game and you're convicted and committed on doing it more, you just start to think about systems in a different way.
100%. Well said, Matt. Yeah. Agencies or service businesses grow in intervals of 12 typically, and it's the systems required to manage that head count doesn't scale. And so you have to retool the systems as headcount expands. Now with AI, things are changing, but what you just described was I just injected 30% growth in the business and we couldn't handle it. How many founders want 30% growth and think they can handle it? A lot of them.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I definitely want the 33% growth. And even if I can't handle it, I still want it because it's good for you. It's a challenge. It's healthy. It builds like your business the way it should be built. Instead of me spending my 60 hours, like we talked about on those wrong things. I mean, push comes to shove, man. Like I can't create more hours in the week. I got to just let it go. And I got to go on to this other thing. And so it just levels you up from a professional standpoint so much more. Your thinking, who you are, who you're going to become, your vision for the future, everything.
Yeah. To become what you want to become, you have to destroy what you've built. And this is a very, Dorian Yates talks about this, the Olympian, in regards to muscle building. Like you literally have to destroy your muscle and have it to have it grow. You have to break what's pre-existing to expand it. And the same thing that your body requires, your business requires. And far too many entrepreneurs aren't actually breaking their businesses at a rate that allow them to grow. And so one of the challenging things that M&A provides you is a opportunity, a change agent event that creates the breaking point of the system so you can become the next thing.
Guys, you need to just take that clip of Peter and just like staple that on repeat like every Monday morning, because people don't understand, like if you have goals, you cannot achieve those goals with who you are today. You need to become someone different. And if you want to become someone different, you need to be pushed by some external force into an uncomfortable situation. M&A is the best way to do that because you just sign on the dotted line. All of a sudden it's you. And you're either going to sink or swim or whatever the phrase is. Like that is the forcing function. There's no turning back. There's no money tree to bail you out. You have to make it work, right? And through that breakage of everything that you just said, that's what transforms you into this new person that can achieve the goal that you ultimately want to achieve in your career 10, 20 years down the line. People totally don't internalize this. They look at the ideal and they get scared. Right? You have to embrace the fear, embrace like all the shit that's going to break. Like, oh, if I do this, it'll break. Good. It's going to break. You're not breaking enough stuff. Break more stuff. Push.
Yeah. The assumption that deals are rather easy, but integration hard holds true. And integration is a planned reimagination of the company based off of the new and available resources. It's not just changing your jersey colors and now you're part of our team and running our system. Yes, there are those types of transactions, but you're missing the point, which is if you're able to acquire a company that's 30% your size and digest and recover from that, your whole team got better because you did that. They got access to new systems. They got new colleagues who can give them professional career development advice or create an ascension ladder for their role that didn't exist because you didn't have enough people that warranted that type of career opportunity. And then all your people go, wow, I'm a part of a company that's investing in growth. I want to be in a high growth company. If you're A-type, you're not going to stand by and be a part of a company that's 6 people for 12 years. And if you are, I hate to burst your bubble, people who have been in business 10, 20, 30 years and have the same people for a decade plus, they're mediocre people. Unless people are progressing, they've gotten comfortable. They've gotten less productive and they're less valuable. The reason why it's so hard to retain people is because they become more valuable than we can afford. And Matt, and anyone who's doing acquisitions, especially at the clip that you're doing it, is giving your people the chance to get better faster than they could ever imagine. They get 4 or 5 jobs, career opportunities in one committed, loyal relationship with your business, Matt. And it's a wonderful gift. Is it highly disruptive? Is it messy? Yes, but 1,000 times over, especially over a long enough time horizon, 110% worth it. And you're just the boldness that you went after it. Again, I want to make sure the listener understands Matt has no special gifts, not to put discount you.
Nope.
He
No,
just has,
guys, I grew up on a farm. I'm like a regular dude.
he's
I
a
don't,
regular guy,
yeah.
started as a regular business, but then made the mindset shift and made a decision and then commitment to that decision. And that has enabled him to transcend what was the time period between the first and the 10th acquisition?
Probably 3.5 years.
Yeah. He did about 2 decades worth of agency struggle, compressed all of that, and now has an unlocked cheat code that he's going to just milk the heck out of that playbook. And he'll get to a critical mass that is extremely attractive. In 5 years, he'll do what other agencies attempt to do over a 15-year horizon.
Okay. You're triggering me because there's like, guys, another clip that you just got to like clip Peter right now and watch that every Monday. Like, you cannot underestimate the value of inspiring your team with this stuff. Okay. Like when they experience a company that grows 33% overnight, it's yes, everything breaks and it causes chaos. Sure. But there's so much more opportunity. A lot of these businesses are remote. I would encourage you to meet your people in person at least once or twice a year. We fly everyone to a retreat. We meet them and I stand up and I tell them, guys, that you are in a company that needs you to grow. Okay. This is not a place you can sit back and relax. Like, if you want to grow your career, become more skilled, this is the place to be. And it really makes that visible and visceral for everyone on your team. They can feel it happening. Okay. And if you have the right team, they're going to love it. Right. And like, it's so inspiring for the team. They get like so excited and there's so many more opportunities. I tell we have our senior managers. I'm like, guys, I need you to start working on becoming a CEO. If you're on this journey with me for the next 20 years, you will be running a company. Okay. When I'm at our retreat and I'm standing in front of 200 people, I'm like, guys, turn your brain on because this could be you sooner than you think. All right. If we acquire another company, I'm going to need people to run this, either on the executive team as the CEO. Where am I going to find those people? I'm looking at them right now. I'm looking at you. So get ready. Imagine yourself up here doing this. And when people start to think that and they take advantage of the opportunities we give them that were given to us because we were brave and took those risks to acquire those companies, it really starts to become more tangible and something they believe in and that seems obtainable. And that's so key, right?
I want you to address another objection listeners have to get started with M&A, because you've obviously overcome it, which is if they're subscale businesses, they're bad businesses. And therefore, how do I structure a deal with a subscale business? You did a LinkedIn post. By the way, follow him on LinkedIn. He shares all this stuff rather openly and candidly. You did a LinkedIn post about this. So unpack that for the listener.
So business school, I loved one of my professors. He said, there's no good or bad deal. It's just about the price, right? Any deal can be the right deal if you structure it right. So you need to structure it in a way like, yes, some of these businesses were not real. I don't know what the barrier is for real business, but they're founder businesses. Founder leaves, they're not a real business anymore. Doesn't mean there's value there for your company. Okay. You maybe have to be a little creative to see it, but guess what? They got clients. What do you got? You got clients. They have a delivery team. You got a delivery team, right? So like literally you're just adding more revenue and more EBITDA straight into your business. Of course there's risk, but you can de-risk it if you structure it right. Don't pay too much up front. Make sure it's paid out with an earnout based on the actual realization of the client staying or the revenue being generated, right? So even if it's not a real business, it's actually maybe advantageous for you because there's no other buddy to buy it. So it's actually like a great opportunity for you. Work on your negotiation skills and everything. So like what was the phrase you said, Peter? Subscale. Subscale. Like, yeah, I think if you're nervous, if you want to be cautious, you do these subscale businesses. And again, interesting fact, like it actually gets easier when they're actually bigger businesses because they're more durable. But it's a natural human tendency. I did it myself. Like you buy these subscale businesses, but you structure the deal. So heads I win, tails I don't lose much.
In the agency ecosystem, the service business ecosystem, earnouts are a typical structure because someone wants a purchase price that is more than the business is actually worth, present value. And so all of the big networks and many buyers go, well, we're going to add an earnout. And some will mitigate things with cash on close, depending on the balance, depending on the things that are coming with the business. But these subscale businesses, a lot of them are acquired on, hey, your book of business is only valuable to me if that book of business stays. And so I need to mitigate that risk by structuring it. And I think you posted it in LinkedIn very transparently, which is they pay me, I pay you.
Exactly. I win, you win.
If I retain them, then I can pay you for it. If I pay you and I don't retain them, then you're selling me potentially a lemon where I could get hurt. So I need asymmetrical risk, which means in almost every scenario, I don't lose. And although we both might lose if the value isn't retained, you want out or you don't want to do this anymore, and I'm assuming responsibility for it. So I need you to work with me on how do I mitigate that risk? And we're going to do that through the deal structure. Yes, not everybody wants that, Matt. How many people have you talked to who said, well, I've heard my business is worth 70% cash on close and a 4 times earning multiple off of an adjusted earnings multiple?
So I got two things. I'll give it the viewers an even more tangible, like you pay a very small amount upfront and you pay commission on the revenue that's received, almost as if they're just a referral partner. And you don't even pay like more money if more deals come in. You're paying based on that existing book of business. These are the clients. Yes, we may get some more clients, but we're going to get those through our own marketing activities, not through your activity because you're not at the company anymore. Pay you commission on the existing clients when they pay revenue. If they don't pay revenue, then there's nothing to pay you, and very little upfront. So like if you're thinking about these subscale businesses or thinking about acquiring books of business, that's the way you structure it. And again, you have a lot of leverage. If the founder says, I want 70% up on close, you follow up with them frequently. Because if, they're looking for somebody who's not too with it to buy that company. So like the chances of them finding somebody's not too high. I learned this. I lost a deal. I didn't circle up back and, I thought I was annoying him or something and like didn't follow up. Guess what? He gave the business away, like it was like 9 months. So you got to like follow up pretty frequently, but stay on them because they'll come to this realization that it is not worth that much.
Yeah. In the episode with Scott Allison Partners, he acquired a business from someone who was winding down a business division for $1. He then did these types of acquiring books of business deals, and they scaled to 10 million in revenue as a PR firm, which was pretty substantial for that period of time, which qualified them to be acquired by MDC for 51%, with an agreed upon buyout for the rest. Then MDC got bought out by Stagwell, publicly traded investment firm in the space. And all of his global expansion, Allison Partners is all over the world, in London, in Amsterdam, throughout the United States. How did he open these offices? He acquired a 1 to 3 person book of business and had an office in a location, and then had a global company that was attractive to private equity back or capital market strategics. And Matt, that's the playbook you're implementing. And another good example of this, Eric Huberman's doing this with Hawk Media. And right now, Matt, these are deals that you're running. Imagine if you had a head of corporate finance, at a corporate business development. Like if you had someone whose full-time job is to fill the pipeline,
I think
not
about
just
this all
Matt.
the time, Peter. I think about it all the time. Like,
You'll
how do I
do
balance
one a month.
Yeah, I got you. Like, you can source if you put the right, once you feel confident as a founder and you start to see the success and you're seeing it actually, isn't as risky. You see the benefits of the negative side. Like you view breaking things as bad before, but now you're like, oh, view things breaking as good. There's very few objections or reasons you shouldn't start investing in an actual engine to do these deals.
Matt, I want to close out with, if we could go back in time to when you started the agency, what's the advice we're giving to entrepreneur Matt, day 30?
For me, it would have been using acquisitions to diversify sooner. Like there was a long gap where I just spent too much time in one ecosystem, and I had figured out started to mess around with it and realized that it was working, but I was only doing it in one spot versus realizing like, hey, this is a better way to jumpstart in other service areas to diversify more. Like I really can't emphasize enough, like as a service business, like you're very susceptible to ups and downs from many things in the world, like whether technology or the market or the economy in general. But like, so diversifying is pretty important. And M&A is like a super shortcut to diversify your acquisitions or even the services that you offer.
Yeah. But Matt, I'm so excited to watch your journey. Thank you for being such a transparent advocate for scaling and growing and doing hard things that disrupt your status quo business constantly. If you're a founder who's been thinking about this and you want another use case and you're like, I don't think I can do it. You need to be around people who are doing it. And Matt is a great example of that, very accessible. And by the way, he's going to take your call because he's looking for you an acquisition target any day. Hop on a Zoom with Matt. So first of all, thank you so much for being a resource and thank you for being a guest. I'll have you back when you reach your first deal in 6 months.
All right. I love it, Peter. Good challenge. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. Lots of fun.
Cheers, Matt.
Cheers.